r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. Women of Reddit. We've had a lot of sticking your dong in crazy questions. What happened when crazy stuck their dong in you? I tried to break up with my high school boyfriend of 3 years 4 times before it finally stuck. Whenever I tried, he'd hold me against walls and tell me I wasn't allowed to leave him. He once cornered me and played with a knife as he told me how much he loved me. The last time, I broke up with him over text because I feared for my life. Duh. I was trying to avoid that and not be shitty. But it had to be done. His mom called me saying he was running around the house threatening to kill himself. I could hear him yelling in the background things to tell me. And that I needed to get over there and say sorry. I hung up on her and never spoke to him again. Oh. Did I mention I kept trying to dump him cause he had a whole other girlfriend of like 6 months? My sister has a similar story. Some dude she broke up with had his mom keep calling her saying that she should go out with him again and that he might kill himself otherwise. I think it shows. Some crazy people come from crazy families. I've never been a girl but I can hardly imagine something that is more of a turnoff than a guy's mom calling you asking you to take him back. He was troubled. Father was an alcoholic who killed himself. A fact he managed to bring up anytime I attempted to end it. He tried to convince me to run away with him. We were 17/18, but I rebuffed him time and again. It didn't help that my mother adored him and we went to different schools. So, I'd come home and he'd already be there waiting for me. Every day. After I finally broke it off, he'd drive by my house at all hours and leave gifts on my porch. A few months later, he got a new girl and I began dating a friend of his. They decided we should all hang out. So one evening we rent a movie and grab some booze. My ex and his girl immediately started making out hardcore. Which didn't bother me. But when she started moaning, I glanced over and he's eyeballing me. Like. Tongue down her throat. Hand in her pants. All while staring straight at me. So I faked ill and walked home. On my way, he pulled his car up next to me and offered me a ride. I said duck off. Then he started screaming at me from his car. Don't you get it? I'd do anything for you. I love you. I'd die for you. I ran the rest of the way, cutting through yards so he couldn't follow me. When I got home I was nearly crying. I was so frightened. My dad saw me come through the door and started flipping out. Assuming my new boyfriend had done something awful. Fearing my boyfriend would catch shit. I finally explained everything about the ex. I felt so dumb and guilty. And cried like an idiot. My dad just listened and tucked me into bed. The next morning, I looked out the window to find the ex's car across the street. By the time I got downstairs, my dad was walking back inside and the car was speeding down the road. Dad evenly said, I talked to him. And that was that. Never saw ex again. Yeah, really gotta love a good dad. He turned into a gaslighting textbook sociopath. He pushed one of those standing rotating fans on me while I was asleep. I woke up and he was just completely pissed off. I had no idea why. He told me he was talking to me while I was sleeping and I rolled over so that I wasn't facing him. Apparently that infuriated him. He was a terrible person. That relationship only lasted about 5 months. It was a nightmare. What a douche. I would have been so pissed to be woken up like that. Was it enough to be a wake-up call to GTFO? He refused to let me break up with him because he wasn't getting a choice in it. Then threatened to throw himself in the river. When I got upset at that he said he wasn't going to, that was just him not giving me a choice. He refused to let me break up with him because he wasn't getting a choice in it. Thereby denying you your choice in it. Making him a hypocrite as well as a manipulator. If relationships work like that where you both had to agree to split, then the world would be a much sadder place. His lies gradually unraveled over time. By the time I got the courage to dump him, it had come out that he had been unemployed for 3 years. Was still divorcing his wife, who was also his only relationship ever, who he had been abusive toward. And had restraining orders against him. When I broke up with him he called me every name in the book. Then proposed. Then threatened self-harm. He would leave sobbing voicemails from different throwaway numbers. Accused me of turning him into an alcoholic. and still occasionally pops up as having viewed any new social media accounts despite our relationship having been just a few months several years ago. His next ex wound up calling me for advice when he gave her the same treatment. Sounds just like my ex-husband. Except for the alcoholic part. Add in a dose of identity theft. He maxed out all my credit cards on Apple and Lego products as a final thank you for supporting him on my single income through our 4 years together. I learned a valuable lesson from him. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a person is to tell them no. Tried to force me to choose between him and many activities that I enjoyed. Super controlling behavior. I tried to break up with him like an adult. He reacted by pretending I wasn't breaking up with him. Then escalating to telling me that he was going to take the truck we own together and my dog and leave me in another state. I switched into survival mode. Pretended I wasn't serious about breaking up. And started looking for a way out. He escalated again by reading my emails and telling me which friends I could see and when. And what I could use our truck for. Thank goodness for my friends and Google Incognito mode. I left while he was at work and called him from a rest stop 2 hours away to tell him we were done. Edit. Thanks for the gold and silver. Kind strangers. Also, for those asking, I did not take the truck. I had a friend pick up me and my dog. Proud of you. Good job. I hope your safety is secured and continues to be. I only kissed him and he went all the way off the deep end. He memorized my class schedule and my general walking route so he could catch me in the halls between classes. Then one day I notice he's on the same bus as me. I'd never seen him on the bus before. It was very obvious that he was following me home since I walked through a large empty field to get from my bus to my house. After that day I frequently saw him walking past my house or wandering through the neighborhood. I stopped going on runs or walking by myself. I was only 14 so I couldn't drive. I took the bus everywhere so this guy put me under house arrest. I was afraid to be home alone but I also didn't have the ability to go anywhere without my parents. Eventually I told my dad what was going on and he started standing outside menacingly and stopped the kid stalking me and told him if he ever saw him near our house again he would be calling the police. Despite being the nicest guy in the world my dad can look really scary. Eventually my stalker switched to another girl in our school. Then another. After sophomore year he had apparently moved because nobody saw Creepy Mike anymore. Oh my gosh. That's terrifying. I went through a similar experience in middle school. But at least you told someone and they were able to help. He was really hot and seemed normal. But after the first date I realized he is not normal and tried to keep it casual. Then he started driving by my work every shift. Calling my friends' houses when I was there and asking to talk to me. He showed up at my work's holiday party and sat in his car outside the whole time. Just really weird behavior that I knew even as hot as this guy was. He was not someone I felt comfortable with or wanted to spend time with. I eventually moved away and it stopped. But years later I saw him at a bar and he came up to me and told me I was just like my mom. I noped right out of there and haven't seen him since. Stalking is a real thing. And it is against the law. I would suggest communicating this to your local authorities. And if you see him again, calling them. We got married. Had 2 kids. Then he flipped and showed how possessive and controlling and angry he really is. We broke up and then he kicked me out and turned his anger from me to them. Now I have our kids and he has supervised visits. And I have a wonderful boyfriend that the kids adore. I got my confidence and emotional stability back. Duck yeah. So glad for you. It. A lot less humor and a lot more violence than stick your dong in crazy threads. About an equal amount of manipulation and suicidal threats though. I'm a woman and this is the exact type of thread I expected tbh. Let's see. Multiples. He turned out to be a pedo who was only into me because I looked about 4 years younger than I was and was underdeveloped. 3 years in I started looking legal so he got the number of one of the freshmen I was tutoring. Got her drunk. And raped her. Called cops. No doubt. He stalked me for months and kept asking me to marry him. Controlled everything about my life from my job down to my hair color and diet. He proposed. Then one day I got a letter from his wife. He tried to lie his way out of it. No doubt. Turns out he was a sex addict. He ducked every willing female he could find. Names not required. He got frustrated and raped me while I was recovering from abdominal surgery. Resulted in my child. He left me after the baby was born because he wanted a girl. He later broke into my house through a window, broke the glass, and stole a bunch of stuff. Currently owes a duck ton of child support. Edited. He did not owe a really happy amount of money, but rather a duck ton of money. Because he wanted a girl. A large part of me worries about the reasoning for wanting a girl instead of a boy. Man. Reading these responses. They are completely different to the stick dong in crazy ones. He beat me up. Raped me. Threatened to kill me. Threatened to kill our child. Threatened to kill himself. Threatened to kill my family. If I left he made it clear someone was going to die. And if he couldn't kill me he'd kill our child and then himself and or maybe he'd kill us all anyway. Stalked me after I left. Though this was before stalking laws. In the early 90s so it wasn't considered illegal to follow someone around. Park outside their house. Come to their job. Call them repeatedly. Etc. None of that was illegal then. I ended up having to leave town. To move away. That saved us. Me and my little girl. We both had a hard time at first. For anyone in this situation with a baby or toddlers. Small children. Please do not think your little one is too small to know what's going on or be affected. They are and they will have trauma, but after a few years things got better. My crazy man radar was sharply honed so I never got in this situation again. And eventually dated and married a great man, 25 years known. 23 years together. 20 years married. Perhaps the saddest or strangest. Or weirdest? IDK the right word, but what was utterly bizarre and baffling to me was that he didn't even seem to like me at all. Let alone feel the all-consuming love he claimed to feel. From the get-go almost he began to put me down. To list my faults. To make fun of my looks. My hair. My color. My intelligence, or rather, lack thereof, my clothes. Etc. Everything about me he disliked. All my friends he disliked. He could not stand my family. Etc. I had very low self-esteem at the time and that was partly why I went along with it. As I had a poor idea of myself as well. But I would ask him with great puzzlement. Why do you insist upon being with me since you dislike me so much? Since I'm so gross and ugly and stupid and so on. I never got an answer. He'd usually go off into insane roaring. Eater. Thanks for the award. One time I asked my abuser why he wanted to be with me if I was so terrible. After a long tirade of personal attacks. He couldn't or wouldn't name a single redeeming quality I had. Which made him want to be in the relationship. That was when I knew I needed to find a way out. I didn't even sleep with him. I took him home but he freaked me out so I asked him to leave. He sent me a barrage of texts and called me constantly for 2 months. He turned up outside my house at 3 AM and told me to come out or he'd come in. He alternated between abusive and aggressive. And acting like we were dating, which we had never. He eventually went away. But I learned he'd just moved on to bothering another girl in town. Duck you, Joe. Was this in Canterbury? I'll let you know when it ends. Rooting for you. He raped me and I got herpes from it. And when I blocked his number he came to my house and tried to break down my door. Went to the cops but they didn't think a crime had been committed. They didn't bother interviewing him or getting any evidence. And lied in the police report about me not having his number for them to contact him. Duck police. Duck shitty rape laws and duck how hard it is to get a restraining order. I'm so sorry this happened to you. That is unacceptable. He became ducking obsessive. Probably because he lost his virginity to me in his mid-20s and had never had any sexual attention from other women since he was from a conservative country. I told him over and over again that I just wanted to be friends after we had sex a few times because he had too many issues. So we later hang out as friends and play video games and drink. Then he tries to make a move on me and I say I don't want to do that. Then he says he's going to sleep. So he sleeps in my bed and I sleep on the couch which is a few feet away. Then scumbag McGee waits until I'm passed out to get on top of me and duck me. Scumbag McGee apologizes over and over claiming he didn't remember. Scumbag McGee had 2 shots of vodka and was lying. Scumbag McGee continues to try to get back with me as friends and eventually starts showing up at my house uninvited. Unfortunately, I work with this scumbag. And I'm looking for new jobs to get away from him for good. Only good thing is that he's not violent with anger issues. Just really obsessive and I'm guessing mentally ill. Hate to say it, but that's rape. Ducking like and subscribe.